Hello, my name is Christy Graham, and I am one of the career advisors here at WGU. And I am here today to talk to you about resumes. This is a resume workshop, and some folks are here just as a requirement. Um, but there's a lot of great information, and I hope that you can ask questions and that you learn a lot. Before we jump into the content, though, I'm going to first start by talking about, everybody has, we got to respect our bodies, and this is being recorded. So if you need to get up, feel free to leave. You will get the recording at the end of the day. So, it might be tomorrow, but I'm really shooting for today just to make sure you guys have access to it. So, you can email us questions, but I also encourage you to just go ahead and pop them in the chat. Um, I will be responding to the chat, and I want to be able to answer your questions as they come up. So you can also email questions to careers@wgu.edu, and I'm going to just pop in the chat there, the email address, in case I'm not able to answer your questions before our time is over. I will not be monitoring the Q&A, so don't use Q&A. Pop the questions in the chat, and I will be able to answer those for you. All right, let's get started. Here's the agenda for today. I'm going to go through I'm going to talk about the applicant tracking system and what recruiters do when they are screening candidates for resumes and whatnot. I will do a resume walkthrough. I've got a sample resume that I will take you through. I have some resumes, do's and don'ts. These are just best practices that you can implement in traditional resumes. I do talk a lot about job descriptions because that's how you're going to tailor your resume to each job. So I'll go over that. And then the last piece is I will talk briefly about using AI for assistance in writing a resume. Melissa just popped in a question that is really relevant to a lot of you folks that are here. I am not going to be talking about federal resumes specifically, but a federal resume. How about I do this, Melissa? I'm gonna save time for the end so that I can go over federal resumes because I know that's a lot of you are here for the workforce recruitment program, and that will be a component that you need to understand. Federal resumes are absolutely lengthy. They're not like your traditional 1 or 2 page resume that you would use for, civilian type work or corporate work. So I'll send you some really good resources, and I'll save that to the very end. I want to get through this agenda first. And I am going to talk a little bit about the job description, so I'll be able to answer your question about tailoring your resume to the jobs. Um, and you will get one once you have access to the workforce recruitment program. When you have access to the database, you'll start to be able to see the jobs that are available, and you definitely are going to be a standout applicant if you tailor that resume to the job. So great questions, and we'll revisit those a little bit later on in the presentation today. So before we talk about a resume, it's and it being the most effective, the best place to start is how are employers actually using ATS systems in the hiring process. So you on the applicant side, once you hit submit, you're submitting your resume, and it's very likely going to go through these applicant tracking systems, often referred to as ATS systems. I would probably say upwards of 85 to 90% of employers are utilizing this because it's actually been around for decades. The use of the ATS system, not recent. This is very much, there's been a lot of technology advances, but the majority of employers are going to be utilizing ATS tracking systems. Now, it's basically just a system. You send the resume through, it looks at the job description, and it's comparing all of the resumes and giving you a score. And the highest scores are the ones that will likely have a human touch, where human eyes are actually on the resume. So the two critical things that the applicant tracking system does not like are aesthetics and formatting. What it'll do, and those of you who are here and have a computer science background or a coding background, the way that it's going to read it is going to parse through the information, and it uses all caps as a way to identify the headings within the document. Things like color, uh, columns, fancy graphics, all of those things are items that it cannot read. And it can actually cause your resume to either be rejected or it's a possibility that your information that has the content will have a giant X through it. So you really want to avoid having a resume that you're submitting through to apply. You want to avoid any of those fancy aesthetics that makes it pretty. I do think that there's a lot of value in having an aesthetically pleasing resume, but save that for the interview. So you can make one, but don't send it through the ATS system. Bring it to you. To your interview, or email that to the interview committee when you secured an interview. Don't include any of that on your resume. Um, and then the second thing is that ATS system, what it's doing is it's actually scanning. So it's going to take your document and it's going to match it to that job description. It's going to assign it a match rate. The higher the match rate, the higher your chances are for it to be looked at by a human that will actually read the material and decide whether or not you are going to be invited for an interview. Of course, the lower the rate, the chances are that, especially in this really saturated job market that we are in, that if you don't take that time to tailor your resume to the job description that you're applying to, it will likely not be reviewed by a recruiter. Oftentimes they'll take like the top 10%, depending on the volume. That could be, 10 out of 100, but it also could be, 5% if there are upwards of more than 500 applicants. So things to keep in mind. Now, more about ATS systems. There are a lot of templates. So like if you open up a Microsoft Word document, for instance, you're going to see templates that you can actually use to start. We really encourage you not to use any templates that that are in Canva or in Microsoft Word, Publisher, any document that you're typing it up your resume. You want to start from scratch, and the reason why is because the ATS system is just notoriously bad for reading anything that has anything that it can't read. So I would say, like, going back to like columns and things like that, you really want to make it as basic as you can so that the computer, the ATS system can parse through and not have any difficulties at all reading the information. Templates oftentimes will have boxes and blocks, and that is just too complicated for an ATS system to read. So avoid those, avoid the columns, colors, tables, text boxes, all of those things that can be included in a template that you're using. And it can also be distracting too. Once a recruiter does get your, if it passes the test of getting through the ATS system, it can be distracting as far as readability. Picture the recruiter when you're thinking about resumes, because the recruiter is going to want to scan through and find the information as quickly as possible, and wants to see if you have those competencies. You don't want things to be too busy where they can't find the information and they've moved on before they really see the great skills and value that you're bringing. We do recommend a clean Word document, and that will ensure the highest chances of you getting through the readability for the ATS system. PDF templates, they're often hard to edit and can be difficult for the ATS system to read. So yes, we live in a day and age where there's a lot of information out there, and maybe you're thinking, I want to submit my resume in a PDF form so no one can edit it. But you're better off to send it in a clean Word document, just because there are some ATS systems that don't have the ability to read through that information. So clean Microsoft Word document, black and white, and just simple documents that you are going to put out there. Now, the reason why is because they only are going to spend about 7 to 10 seconds on your resume. This is information from a 2018 study from the Ladders, and it talks about how the human eye processes information on an actual resume. Um, they are going to spend 80% of their time in that 7 to 10 second scan. They're going to see your name, which should be clear at the top of the resume in larger font than the rest of the document. They're going to be looking at the current and prior job titles and company name. So you want to make sure it's scannable and that you have all your dates on the right and your titles for the positions that you've held in bold, so that that is very clear and easily identified. The start and end dates are also what they're looking for, because they're trying to see how much experience you have in each of the areas. And then education. So anything else, your honorable awards or your volunteer work, they might not be looking at that. Really, these are the areas that they are most likely going to be scanning in that time period. So I'm going to take you through a resume, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time here. So this is only the first half of a resume. So, you're going to hear general information about should I have a 2-page resume? Should I have a page resume? For a traditional resume, you want to aim for 1 to 2 pages, depending on your experience. If you're new to the industry, 1 page should be sufficient. If you have extensive experience in the targeted area that you are applying to, you want to make sure that you're still being concise, but sometimes that will often lead to you having more experience on a second page. I tell everyone that I meet with to talk about resumes that the first half of your resume is actually the prime real estate on your resume document, because you want to, in those first 10 seconds, grab the attention of the reader. So anything, you know, picture your 8 by 10 piece of paper, your resume printed and folded in half, and everything on that top half is prime real estate and needs to be very deliberately included to grab that attention of the reader. So we're going to start with the name. Notice here on this resume, there is no address. That is, honestly, I put city and state, but you don't want to put your full address unless you are part of the Teachers College. That is a requirement for Teachers College, so you will need to complete your complete address. But general practice is you don't include your address. You can put city and state if you'd like. That can be important, especially if you are applying to a job that requires you to be in office. They want to hire somebody that doesn't have to, relocate. But as you can see on this resume, everything is on one line. If you do want to put your GitHub or your portfolio, that is also something that you could put up top. LinkedIn would be optional, but highly recommend, if you're going to include that you are customizing that URL. Next is going to be your professional summary. This is optional, but it is so nice to have kind of a snapshot of what is to come. And as a recruiter, they really appreciate that. So it's going to be really brief. It's going to take the information that you're putting on your resume and going to, in 3 to 4 lines, 5 maximum, you're going to talk about why you are the best person for that job. This professional resume should be tailored with each job. I like to include the job title just to help you increase the matches of your ATS score that we just talked about, but also to help them start picturing you. Even if you haven't held that position title before, you can include that you're aspiring to be a computer programmer or human resources specialist. So then you can talk about, these are the reasons why I have this many years of experience. You can do it in bullet format if you prefer. Include any kind of relevant technical skills, certifications, or languages that are relevant to the job that you are applying to. Um, And again, this is optional, but I do like to, have folks do this so that they can read that snapshot, know exactly what's going to be included in your resume, and to pull in the reader's attention. I got a question here in the chat, so I'm gonna pivot to that. Um, Adam wrote, as students, we're not likely to have a lot of professional experience in our field. Our work experience may not fill out the keywords and core competency in the job description. Giving quantifiable numbers based on those competencies is hard as well without experience. How much work experience should we put in that case? And how do we highlight all of these skills developing at school as that's the reason we're here? That's a really great question, and that's a really good call out. So this is clearly an experienced person. If you have no experience, like I'm talking about no work experience at all, you would want to reorganize your resume, bring the education up to the top, and then include in relevant coursework and maybe projects, maybe even include a project section. I'm going to pull up just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I'm going to pull up a resume, a sample resume, and it is academic based because I think that would be a format that Adam, you would benefit from. And that format is going to include academic projects, and it's also going to include relevant coursework. So let me find that really quick, and I will show you. I'm actually just going to let you guys see. This is our website. I will send these resources out. This is our section on resumes, and here are all of our templates. They're not really templates. I just told you that not to use a template. These are Word documents that you can download. You do need your WGU credentials. For those of you that want to follow along, I'm going to pop that here in the chat. This list is long, and the one that I'm really referring to is called the Academic Project Sample. So here, and I'm not sure if you can see this, you've got kind of the same format up at the top, but see how it leads with education. I would still recommend a professional summary here, but that's just me. To each his own. It is optional, but you can see they don't have a lot of professional experience. So they're starting with their education right up top, and then they're moving on to academic projects because their academic projects are going to be more relevant to the job that they're pivoting to. If you have work experience though, and you can highlight transferable skills, you may actually still have an academic project section, but you might still move your professional experience up to the top. It's going to be a preference. So I just wanted to show that to you real quick to help answer your question, Adam. And let me know if you have follow-up questions. I see you're giving me a thanks. Cynthia wants to know, is the summary good in lieu of a cover page? No, I think you need both. And I'll tell you why. This is not a cover letter class, but cover letters are also run through ATS systems. So it just gives you an opportunity to, one, not only show them your excellent written communication skills, but it also gives you a chance to increase that match rate. So the and I'll give you a tip. I'm going to talk a little bit about AI. If you don't know what to do to write your professional summary, you can ask ChatGPT for help. Copy all of your professional experience and below. Do not include your contact information. Put it into ChatGPT and ask them, can you help me write a succinct professional summary to allow, that I can include on my resume? So if I have time at the end, I'll even do a demonstration of that. So you just want a little snapshot here. You don't need to tell them everything, but give them the highlights as it's described in the job description, and then write yourself a separate cover letter, a cover letter that is really talking about how your experiences really tie into the job. These are great questions, folks. So I'm going to, Steve wants to know if you add skills learned in school before the education. Everything is priority based on you and your own personal experiences. So thinking about your prime real estate, you're looking at the job description, which I'm going to go over in a few more slides, but anything that you see that you are following along and you're seeing as general themes, that's what you want to put here at the top. So it's going to be a preference, and it really depends on how much experience you have and what those skills are and how relevant they are to the job description. Sorry, that's a non-answer, but um, oh, I'm so sorry that my mic is going in and out. I apologize. It's because I need a new headset. So thanks for letting me know. Um, I I I don't have another microphone, but I'm gonna keep plugging along here. Um, though Destin just asked a good question. What if we already did that? Is there someone available to review an AI generated resume? I'm gonna talk about resume reviews in a little bit. So we absolutely do written reviews here in our office. But oh yes, Nicole has a great solution for my terrible mic, closed captions. That way you can read. So let me know because sometimes I get a little excited and I knock my head around. So let's get through the top half of this resume. Keep the questions coming though. I want to be able to answer those as soon as they pop into your head. So, professional summary, totally optional. Professional experience, because this person is a seasoned person and candidate, and they have a lot of good stuff that they're talking about. Um, this is you want to bold the things that you want to stand out. Remember earlier, I talked a little bit about how recruiters are looking for your job title. So that is important. And as you can see, it's bold so that it stands out. We've got the dates and the ranges of when they were working on the right, and it just seems to be nice to be able to, for a recruiter, to glance at a resume in those 7 to 10 seconds and see how many years of experience you have in the various job titles. Now, this is an optional line. This section right here where it says optional, a line describing the company's business and your job responsibilities. Don't include that unless your job title doesn't clearly describe what it is you do. So it's just wasted space because you're better off really spending time on the accomplishment statements, which are these bullet points here. And I'll get into this in a little bit more detail, but I wanted to just show you at first what that looks like. But each of these bullet points are going to describe your results and achievements. I know it can be challenging, absolutely challenging to quantify how you did the job. And that's where you can lean into us as your career advisors because we can help you with that. You don't have to, you might not have percentages, but let's say you're working cross campus or across the organization with multiple departments to complete a project. How many departments? How many people did you have to collaborate with? Like all of the things that you can do to quantify your results are going to paint a clearer picture of the value that you're going to bring to the organization. There's so much more power when there are numbers involved, and we as a team can absolutely, as a career and professional development team, can really help you with that if that is an area that you need help. So then, as you can see, there's some great examples, but every accomplishment statement, you're looking for strong action verb, the task, and the result. So that those are the ingredients for a really good, solid accomplishment statement. So I have some handouts that I'll probably send out for that, but you're going to create about 3 to 5 bullet points for each of these accomplishment statements. The results and the outcome, that's like how you stand out. So gone are the days that a resume is just a task list of duties that you've done. Instead, they're really helping the recruiter understand your experience, your skill set, and the contributions that makes your experience more, translatable for them. So in these examples, you're going to see that they have those quantified numbers. If you don't have numeric, it's still okay, but look for opportunities. And if you need help, lean into us on that. It's going to highlight the number of teammates, right? Number of people you worked with, number of people that you led, that you managed, students that you taught. If you have a lot of academic history that you're putting on your resume, talk about timelines. Talk about how you're using classmates or the number of people that you collaborated on an assignment. So we can help you with that in the review process. Um, the last thing I'm going to talk about, well, actually, this whole next slide is all about writing strong accomplishment statements, but this is just an idea about how you can break up your experience. You can do two sections. If you have older experience that's more closely related to your target role, for example, than your most recent or current position. So let's say you have used to be like a marketing assistant and currently you're a sales associate. If you're applying for a marketing coordinator role, it may actually make sense for you to create a marketing experience section and then an additional professional experience so that you can really showcase what your marketing skills are towards the top of your resume rather than your most recent job. I hope that makes sense. But that is something that is absolutely important. You like sometimes we have to take a job that isn't what we actually want to do, right? I mean, COVID, that is so common. So if you have experience that might be a little bit older than your current work, put that up at the top. Remember, the top part is your prime real estate. Use it to your advantage and move things around as you feel like it is more important for the recruiter to see. All right. So, um, let's see here. We've got somebody who is going to chime in. Is this for a master resume, government, or regular? This is for a regular resume. I'm going to save, if you came late, I'm going to save a little bit of time at the end to talk about federal resumes. For folks that are here that are here for the WRP informational interview, you can use a regular resume. You won't need a federal resume until the database opens and you're ready to start searching through the database and applying to the individual jobs that you're going to have record of. And USA Jobs has a lot of really great resources that I'll go over at the end. Cynthia has a great question. How many bullet points is too many? Honestly, I would say you want to have about 3 to 5 bullet points for each job, but you might have more experience. So you might, if you have 10 bullet points that are really relevant, then I would recommend you do 3 different sections and categorize them and group them together with headings so that it's in there. But 3 to 5 is generally what we're looking for. All right. Great question, Raquel. How do I encapsulate over 20 years of military service? I'm going to table that for the end because generally we recommend that you only go back 10 years. So unless whatever it was you were doing 20 years ago is connected or really relevant to the job that you're applying to, um, for multiple reasons, mostly because you don't want to run into age discrimination, but also can you really if you did something more than 10 years ago, it kind of it's yes, it's still an experience and a skill set, but is it the same that it was 10 years ago? Lots can change in the world of like data and technology and the use of technology incorporated into different things. So when you go back more than 10 years, you're running into not only age discrimination, but relevancy to the job. So that might be an individual question that I'd have to take a look at your resume to see if the items that are older than 10 years are really important to be included. Now, and it looks like Octavia provided that generally the 10 years. I'm just getting over a cold, so I apologize. Here's another question about federal job. If I apply for a federal job, would it benefit me to include a state government job if it's not the same field that I've applied to? So that's pretty specific. I would say it depends. It depends on how long your resume is. It depends on how much other experience you have that might be more relevant. It resumes don't, I mean, in 7 to 10 seconds, you only have just a small window to be able to grab the attention of the reader. So I mean, I'll just be transparent. I have a 5-page resume. It's more like a CV. And that particular resume it has everything and anything on it. And when I go to apply for a position, I actually pull most of it off and I only really include the targeted, and I get it down to, usually I get it down to a page and a half maximum. But nobody won't, I mean, the recruiters aren't going to want to read through everything you've done. They really just want to know, what have you done as it relates to my job? So I would say you do want to be really relevant. If you do have something you're really proud of, go ahead and include it, but really know your audience. Showcase the skills that are relevant to the job rather than the skills that you're actually really proud of. So I hope that helps. And absolutely, you can apply that to tech jobs as well. And to I'm gonna pause here. I'm gonna pause on the questions just for a moment because I want to show you this next slide. And I want to have some time for the federal resume section that I'm going to add to the end. Take a screenshot of this if you want to. This is basically everything I said in a pretty succinct way. Strong action verb, numbers, examples. People want to know how, not just that you are really analytical. Tell us how. Tell us what that skill, how you use that skill in action so that we can really start picturing you in the role that we are trying to fill. Results, impact, outcome, that is how you want to end your strong accomplishment statements, because that is going to help you stand out as an applicant. All right, so before I get to the bottom half, I'm going to just go through some of these questions here. And all right. Looks like some folks, thank you for helping along with the chat. Would we need to have military past 10 years that the hiring authority has a veteran preference, so we would provide the DD-214? I would absolutely include that you are a veteran, that you have that you qualify. I don't know how I would put that. I wouldn't say DD-214, but there are some, the federal government does give priority to veterans, so I would include that. Maybe include it in your professional summary or your cover letter, but definitely preference in a lot more than just federal jobs can actually give you some priority in the hiring process. So for the WRP process, you don't actually include your Schedule A until you get a job offer, and that's the same thing for your DD-214. Have them handy, include that you're a veteran. You don't want to include your resume as a professional document, and you shouldn't be including that you are that you have the Schedule A authority requirement. That's not something that you should include. All right. Should we be showing different titles, promotions at the same company, or do we have to list them as separate entry points? That's a great question. I'm going to show you what that looks like, because we've got lots of templates that are on our website. Right here, multiple roles for the same employer. When I see, as a hiring manager, when I see progression at a company, that tells me that you were promoted and that your current organization or your prior organization saw the value in your work and advanced you to something different. Even if it's the same, right? It's not a, maybe it's not, it's a lateral move, but it's still you learning and growing within an organization. And I'll tell you, it's really expensive to hire. And if somebody, when you're hiring somebody, that's something that they're thinking about. Will this person come and grow with us, or will they come in and hop out to something better? So showing that you have progression within a company absolutely demonstrates that you are a loyal person that's willing to grow within. So this is just an example of how you can put that on here. So example 1, it's showing the employer, and then it has the positions. And as you can see right here, we've got the position range dates that you're going to include, and the accomplishment statements, especially if it's very similar roles, this is how I would recommend you do it. In example 2, it has everything listed out because the roles or the accomplishments don't really, I mean, they're going to be very different. This would be, I have very different roles that I have moved to. So take a look at that and use that as a guide. All right, lots of good questions. So on the resume, the timeline, how do you phrase at home? Um, I wouldn't say at home, honestly. I'd probably just say self-employed, and then you could write accomplishment statements and put in date ranges. I love that folks are making suggestions on ChatGPT. ChatGPT is your personal career coach. So honestly, use it. It has a lot of insight, but please make sure, and I'll go over this when I talk a little bit about AI, please make sure that you are using your own experiences, getting help from ChatGPT to help with that, but you're not, you know, excuse me, you're not actually going in there and taking somebody else's experiences, because you will eventually have to be able to speak to them. All right. Sorry, bear with me. Quick question. When a recruiter contacts you through LinkedIn or something, should I present them my resume in the PDF format or Word format? That would be your aesthetically pleasing resume or your PDF format. I would recommend PDF format. You're not going through an ATS system. Somebody has reached out to you. The plain format is only for when you are applying to a job through a public job board. Great question. Be really careful and mindful that there are scammers on LinkedIn. So always sending your PDF is a great idea. So thank you for that question. Can you speak to how you leave out irrelevant job roles without showing employment gaps? Excuse me. That's a great question. I'm going to put a pin in that, and I'm going to actually put a thumbs up so I remember to go back to that, because that's a little detailed. And then they've been asking for my Schedule A during the application process. Angela, I'm curious about that. Where are you finding jobs? Are you going through the Schedule A authority? If not, I would not be providing a Schedule A letter to an organization asking for that. So I'd need more information on that. And all right, gosh, yes, I need a cough drop. Seriously, I actually feel fine. My body doesn't catch up with me. I think I got through all the questions. Let me go back to you, Precious, real quick. Leaving out irrelevant jobs without showing an employment gap. This is the trick that I like to use, honestly. So on a resume, see how this says professional experience? If I've got gaps, I change that to relevant experience. And that tells the employer, I'm only putting the relevant stuff on here. There's going to be gaps because I only want you to see what is relevant. And then when you get to an interview, you're still going to have to address the gaps, but it's not going to be a barrier for you at the point of application. So, and lots of ways that you can speak to employment gaps. Anytime you can really talk about the things that you did, volunteer work, household head of household, managing budgets, managing scheduling. Right? Gosh, if those of you who have kids, you're going to have to talk about time management and scheduling and all of that good stuff. So there's a lot of ways that you can deal with employment gap. I like to just put relevant experience, unless you're using those gaps where you were doing volunteer work or doing parenting to help with that. And Cynthia, great question. No, the ATS system is that the gaps in your employment are not something that the ATS system is taking into account. So no, that is that. And if you put the word relevant, then it'll tell the recruiter, oh, this person is doing me a solid. They're only including the things that are actually relevant. All right, we're going to move on. So this is the top of the resume. right, we're going to look at the bottom. Just like a recruiter, a lot of folks won't actually get to the bottom of your resume, which is why you need to put all the good stuff that's really important that you really want them to see up at the top. So here at the bottom, we've got additional experience, education. In this case, this person has a master's of administration, but had the work experience is going to be more valuable. So even if it's not related, make it relatable. Find transferable skills that you can really highlight. Critical thinking, adaptability. I can't tell you how many times, well, if I see somebody talking about how adaptable they are, I want to meet them. That is a skill that every employer across all industries is looking for. Even if you are, working in the food industry, if you can demonstrate how you're adaptable, that is somebody that they're going to train you on whatever it is that you're going to be doing, especially in these federal government positions. They are looking for people who are adaptable, people who are easy to work with, easy communicators. So if you need help coming up with some of those transferable skills, let us know. We're happy to help. So additional, this is optional, the additional experience. Sometimes everything you can put a spin on it to make it relevant to the job. So oftentimes I won't see additional experience, but education is like on a teacher's college resume, education is actually more relevant than your work history, because you have to be certified and you have to be licensed to teach. So this is a basic resume that is you're going to want to move those headings around based on the industry, but also based on what you want that recruiter to see. Now, this does say you can go over a page if you have significant recent 10 to 15 years of experience that's relevant to the role. But I say if you have relevant stuff to the job and it's not redundant, go to the second page. Trust me, employers don't like clutter. So if you're trying to just cram everything onto one page, it's not going to be readable. You're much better off to go over to the second page. But if you go to a second page, please don't put one or two lines. Fill it to at least a third. I always usually, if I go to a second page, I've got lots of skills and experience. There's no redundancy. Everything on my resume is relevant to that job, and I'm absolutely taking up that second page. All right, moving right along. Here's some resume do's and don'ts. I've kind of gone over this. Let me see. Oh, this one's huge. Oftentimes I get somebody that's here and they'll say things like, well, what if I just copy and paste the entire job description and I put it in white text, really small on my resume? I'm gonna have a high match rate. That is an absolute flag. You will actually be caught, and you're not going to be offered a position, even if the body of your actual experience is very relevant. So please don't do that. Don't put references upon request. That is outdated. That is implied. Um, I've already gone over some of these other things, except for personal pronouns. You don't use I, me. You're using yourself almost, you don't want to use the personal pronouns. The way that a resume is written is more of implied first person. And then as far as all these other things, this one right here, it does say unless prior experience is more relevant or required. And I just really can't stress redundancy. People in this day and age, we are presented with so much material. Nobody likes to read large block text, and nobody likes to read the same thing over and over again. If you talked about how excellent your customer service is, that's it. Great job. Talk about something else, because I bet you have a lot to bring to the table that you can talk about. Hope, if you don't have any references, that's something that I would recommend that you start working on. Maybe a professor, maybe your mentor, maybe a colleague, or a previous manager. References are, in this day and age, you can expect, if you have a job offer, that you're going to need to provide references. Generally, they want to see at least one manager, and then some professional references. But think outside the box. Maybe there's a leader at your religious affiliation, or someplace that you volunteer. You find people that will say great things about you. And if you have to tell them, really focus in on these three components that we've had experience working on would be the best. Um, so, if you have additional questions about references, please don't hesitate to reach out to us because I could probably talk to you all for another hour on references alone, but they will absolutely be recommended. It looks like, uh, yeah, awesome. So you can get letters of recommendation, but maybe your mentor, I know you guys do talk to your mentors a lot. Maybe they would be willing. So now, one of the things that, as a segue to the job description, I'm going to show you briefly. You do want to use the job posting as a guide, and I'll tell you why. As a hiring manager, every time you post a job, you rewrite that job description. So that being said, that is like the answer key to the test, right? The answer key is there. You know exactly what they're looking for. And then you kind of tailor your resume so that you're using the same language and you're identifying all of the skills that they're talking about that they're seeking into your application materials. Okay, so here we have a sample job description. Um, so now that you know how to make sure that your resume is properly designed and formatted, this is how you're going to also determine how to prioritize, right? And you're going to use that job description as a guide. Start with first the requirements. So you're going to look at requirements, and this is going to be maybe sometimes it's qualifications. So the responsibilities are what the job is entailing. That's definitely a priority if it is something repeated. So what I've done here on this slide is I've actually um, made in red and bold. I bolded the things that are repeated: communication, collaboration, customer service in this particular job description. I can see, since it's repetitive in there, that is something I need to hit home in. I'm going to put that in my professional summary, and I'm going to have my very first bullet point on my resume in however I've designed it to talk about that skill, those skills. Iteration, initiatives, community development. You can see, and you can use some AI tools to actually help with that, to help you find it so you don't have to like read through. I mean, I hope you're reading through these job descriptions because you're applying and you might be doing that job. And it really does, at looking at resumes, when I see somebody that I'm wondering, how did they even get into my applicant stack, because it doesn't even look like they read my job description. They're immediately not going to be considered. So you want to list things in priority order and adjust the bullet points. Remember those accomplishment statements? You're going to want to adjust those based on the order of how often they're going to describe it in the job description. You also want to look for concrete skills and actions and outcomes. So employers are very likely looking at keywords. You can use, I don't know if you guys know what TagCrowd is, but TagCrowd is a really great tool to help you identify which words are used the most. But ask yourself, when you get the common themes, ask yourself first, do I have at least one bullet point on my resume that is addressing each of these priority skills that I've identified? And if you don't, you know where to add, right? You know where to showcase those skills and those experiences. On the other end, you also want to consider, do you have bullet points or skills included that don't connect at all with the job description? This won't hurt you as far as the ATS systems go, but it's taking up space on your resume, and you might distract a recruiter to show them, they might be in that 7 to 10 seconds, they might only see the things that aren't relevant. So you're essentially watering down the most important. Tag crowd. So tag crowd. Thank you. Tag crowd is a great place to copy and paste that job description to find what those themes are. It does it in seconds rather than having no problem, Mishka. I'm sure somebody else didn't know what I was talking about either. But tag crowd is definitely a really fast and easy way to be able to do this. Now, here in this position, description, I've changed, I already told you, I've changed all these words in red. Now, if you're targeting this position, these are going to be your highest priority words. Note that you want to use the exact language, okay, not a synonym of the word, right? If they say customer satisfaction, you're going to write customer satisfaction. And the reason why is because ATS is a computer. Computers are only as smart as the user. So they're looking for an exact match. They're not knowing, they're not thinking about, well, they're not thinking. They're just a computer. They're literally doing a match, and they're looking for exact phrase. So please, I meet with so many folks that they tell me that they have applied to hundreds of jobs, and when we get down to it, they are sending out, basically a job, a general network administration resume, and they're not taking the time to just tailor it, to tweak the words a little bit so that ATS knows that they are that is exactly what they are talking about. And I love this question that Octavia popped in the chat. She said, is it true that if you meet 60 to 75% of job requirement, is this a good indication of like whether or not I should apply for a position? I love this question because it rings true. You don't need to check every single box on a job description. You are shooting for 60%. And I hear 60 to 75%, but my friends over at LinkedIn, they tell me if 60% is the sweet spot. If you have less than that, then you're underqualified. If you have more than that, then you have not enough room to grow. And if you're checking off all the boxes, you are 100% overqualified. You should be looking for the next step, right? So people don't want to have to hire you, train you, and then you already know the job because you were overqualified. No room for growth. That was an excellent question. So thank you for that, Octavia. All right. So I'm gonna go a little bit into detail here. This is just a process, so feel free to take a quick screenshot of that. And this is kind of an idea of when you're developing, if you have no resume, starting from scratch. I hope most of you have a starting point, but even you career changers that are thinking about a career change, the best way to do this is to pull 3 to 4 job descriptions and of a target role that you are looking for. And then you're going to do a pattern analysis to find requirements that are, that are general themes. And then what you're going to do is you're going to composite as a basis for developing that resume for that type of role. So it is oftentimes I hear people, if they are looking for 3 different roles like accounting, business management, and I don't know, budget reconciliation, they'll have a general resume for each of those roles, and then they'll just be tweaking the language that goes into it. And just to kind of let you know, Cynthia, yes, it does feel like you're a little dishonest, but now that you know that employers are seeking people that are looking for growth, that's what you can go to the interview and just say, I'm really passionate about XYZ, and I'm really looking to develop my skills in XYZ, the things that you didn't include on your resume, because they are going to be looking for fit over the majority of employers over do you have all of the necessary skills. So Dustin is asking if it would be wise to have multiple. Yes. So I hope I just answered that question. So I have multiple resumes. So, I was trying to apply for an employer relations representative recently. So I take my big main resume that has everything under the sun because I'm always adding to it. And then I create that resume based on kind of this process, trying to figure out what are the skills that I need to really showcase on my resume, and then I save that as well. So resumes are a living document. It's kind of like you're always going to be adding to it, right? I hope, because you're going to be growing as you're on the job. And if you aren't growing, if you're here thinking about applying for another job, it's probably because you're not growing, and humans desire to learn and to continue. So I'm going to go over. I know I only have 3 minutes, so I'm gonna finish the slide deck, and I'm still going to go ahead and do a little snippet of some federal resumes. If you have to drop off, I totally understand. I'm going to send out the recording, and it will include this additional content. But Here are some online tools. I know I already talked about Tag Crowd, so that's the word cloud generator. I think I popped it in the chat. I will be sending all of these out to you. One of these that I think I want to show you real quick because this is a big interview is a really neat platform that y'all have access to, and you do need your WGU credentials to sign on. What I want to show you is it's great for preparing for interviews. It's really great to sit and do classes, and you get access to this platform as long as you are a student, but also for your lifetime. So this we added this feature just recently. Up here at the top, you can click on resumes and you can use the resume AI scan. This is a really nice self-service. You can use it 24/7 and you scan your resume in, and then what you'll do, you'll choose a scoring guide. Right now we have 4. So if you're not a teacher or in IT, you would use the professional scoring guide. Excuse me. Then you're going to go here to add a job description. I recommend this because you're going to get the most tailored advice if you have a job description. And you can go in here and paste in a job description. It does limit you to 5,000 characters. So just the responsibilities and the qualifications, like I showed you in that slide. And then you go up here and you upload your resume. This takes about 3 to 5 minutes. It's not as fast as ChatGPT, but you're going to get some tailored advice, and I highly recommend that you all use that. I'll pop it in the chat for those of you who want to take a look at it before I send out the recording. But that is the website for our big interview platform. I also like Jobalytics. I won't show you that because of sake of time, but that's another one that I really like because it's free and it's a Google Chrome extension. I want to show you our website. I kind of have a little bit already, but this is where you're going to find the website where you're going to access our resume tools, and you'll click on Get the Job from Career Tools, and then you're going to click over here on the left-hand side to Resumes. And I think I popped in the chat already a direct link that will take you right there, but that's how you can navigate. We're going to be changing our website soon, so you know, if you have trouble finding it, when it does change, please just let us know. We're hoping that it'll be a little bit better, more user friendly than our current platform right now. But that is how you get to the resume resources. Now, this is the section I'm going to talk a little bit about AI. So AI, for those of you who are living under rocks, this has been around for a couple of years now, available to folks. Raquel, what did you? I'm not going to send out the slide deck, Raquel, because it'll be outdated soon with the changes that we have going forward. But I'm going to send you out the recording, and you can pause and take a screenshot. So happy to help with that. If you want to stay on a little bit longer, I will hang out and do some questions. But I do want to talk a little bit about AI. Obviously, it's basically computers simulating humans, solving problems like humans do, learning, machine learning. It has absolutely revolutionized the job search process. So, so basically, you are going to be I want to introduce this because it has absolutely changed the job market, and it has actually made it really difficult to apply to a job board using a resume that's tailored because of all these really great tools that help with this process. Now, recruiters have been using AI-powered tools for actual decades, and that's the ATS systems. It's really, they use it to quickly screen through all of the candidates, and now us regular people are now able to use AI tools to help efficiently with the with the hiring process. So we've got hi Octave. I think we've met. I think we've worked together before. So thanks for joining me. Before I show you some of the cool things that AI can do, I just want to go over really briefly some important considerations. it is high tech, but it also needs high human touch. And what I mean by that is, yeah, use it. And I use it all the time, and I encourage people to use it. But because it is AI is not always accurate, and it can be biased because it's only giving you output based on the data that it's pulling from. And guess what? Some of the stuff out there on the internet is not credible, right? We all know this. So um, it's pulling out the information based on what is most common and not necessarily what is correct or what is best practices. So, keeping that in mind, you also want to be mindful of what you share. So, I'd mentioned earlier about taking your resume, the body of your resume, and leaving out the contact information. Anything you don't want to be part of the machine learning and part of the output, you don't want to include. So, leave out your contact information, please, and just put in information that you don't mind being shared. You can also, like on ChatGPT and other platforms, you can also change your privacy settings to not be included. So all things to consider. Um, Generative AI is definitely supposed to be conversational. It's not like a Google search. You're not just putting in one thing. You can absolutely ask for some feedback or some more specifics. We recommend that you start with your own work, but certainly, if you're having a hard time even starting, it can help do brainstorming and help you with some prompting. And then, of course, review your materials. And this is just a given. You should not only be looking at your resume and fine tuning it, you should have a second pair of eyes. So either use us, you can lean into us for that, or um, have a friend or family member take a look at your resume, because you might have missed that you have a random period in one place because you're staring at that document for so long. So same goes for AI, especially because it's not always accurate and because of its biasness. Make sure that the materials that you are putting out there are in your voice, but also are a demonstration of your great work that is accurate, because you're going to have to speak to all the great things that you're putting on your application materials. So that being said, I'm not going to go over this in full detail, but I really want to show you guys Perplexity. And the reason why I want to show you Perplexity is because we as an institution have had so much users through WGU that you can actually use Perplexity, and you can use this Pro. See how I have Pro? If you sign up with your WGU email and you get a whole year as a student with a student email, and I want you all to take advantage of that. You don't have to. If you already have an account and you're happy with the free service, you get some of the pro features anyway. But in small bite size, like you'll get like 4 pro searches per 24 hours. But I always like to tell folks, just sign in with your WGU or create an account specifically for WGU. Now, here are a couple of prompts that I have provided. That's all I was going to show you. I'm not going to go through these prompts. Usually I do, but these prompts I will send out in your email so that you can have them. But if you're having a hard time thinking about transferable skills, I know there was some chat earlier. If you're having a hard time quantifying your work, ask ChatGPT to help you, because you will be amazed by the insight, and absolutely follow up with prompts. So don't just take the first answer. If you get a response and you're like, wait a second, those transferable skills that they just told me to highlight aren't even on my resume or aren't even associated with the role, follow up with some more, push back, act like it's a person. I know that's weird because it's a computer, but in this example, I provided a like a more concise version of the transferable skills, but you can use follow up in any way if you want to change the language, or if you want to call them out on that is completely hallucinating. I don't know what you're referring to, or this is not, because it's learning, right? But use AI to help you, because it can really be an effective career coach that people spend thousands of dollars on. So I highly recommend that. Brandon is asking about quantification of publicly available work. That is a really good question, Brandon. I appreciate that question because you certainly don't want to put information on there that's not public. If it is information about your organization that is not public or that you might get in trouble for, use your best judgment. Um, when in doubt, don't include it. Maybe so. I mean, it has to be something that is available to the public. You don't want to be sharing information that your company would be unhappy with you sharing, or that they could potentially sue you. So use your best judgment. If you need help on figuring out what that looks like, reach out to your friendly career advisors. Great question. All right. Here is a chat GPT for specifically for your resume. So feel free to take a screenshot of this. This has got some great stuff. What I love about this is not only is it got some prompts here, it also has some tools. Uh, so some really great tools that I want to call out. Um, Interview Warm Up by Google. That one is good, but not as good as Big Interview. But everybody, these platforms are not one size fits all. So I think I would encourage you to try them out, play around with them, find the ones that are right for you. Uh, these are Career Flow AI. I happen to love that, and of course my Perplexity is my go-to chat GPT because it does it gives you some information that tells you where to find the sources of where they're getting the information, because I I want to know if, especially if I'm using it for my work or as a representation of something I'm putting on my resume, I want to make sure I know where that source is coming from and that it is something that is credible. So great cheat sheet. So hopefully you've taken a picture of that, and um, I'm going to now pivot to I'm going to pivot to USA Jobs because I want to show you folks. Most of you have signed up today. You're doing this to make sure that you take advantage of the the optional informational interview. So I want to get on to USA Jobs and show you a few things. But before I do that, I'm going to answer these questions. Oh, Melissa, that's so awesome. Yeah, I think they did a big fall promotion. And if those of you who are interested in AI or interested to talk a little bit more about AI, I do a couple of other AI presentations. It's something I'm really passionate about. I love to see the evolving technology, and I'm constantly trying to learn and to utilize these tools in the career space, because I really think that um, it helps level the playing field, right? We have all sorts of students here at WGU, and some folks might. I think, like, when you're applying for a job, usually that means you're either not working or you're looking for a job that pays more. So you don't want to spend more money on a career coach, and the AI is a great tool that will help level that playing field so that you are getting the same kind of coaching that somebody that has those resources to buy their own personal career coach. So I'm very passionate about it. So feel free to come to or watch on my YouTube channel, not my YouTube channel, the career and professional development folks. So those spaces are we put some of our recordings of our YouTube information on our YouTube channel. Oops, I gotta get out of here. All right, so I'm gonna pivot to the questions real fast here. Yes, so I love that. I love when you folks are sharing insights, because there's no way I can keep all of this in my brain, but that is a really good call out. Going back to the prompt where I have those transferable skills, you could just ask ChatGPT. You could do a brain dump. These are all the things that I do as a stay-at-home mom. Can you help me write some accomplishment statements that are geared towards whatever role you are trying? So I really encourage you all to roll up your sleeves and check out ChatGPT. And if you want to know more, check out my, I think I've got two pre-recorded workshops that are probably outdated now because they aren't done today because the technology is just constantly evolving. And then let's see, how do we prove that we've attended? Thank you for that question. Everybody that has that is here, I have the attendance list. So just you coming, thank you for coming. And folks, feel free to drop off as you want to. This is just bonus content because I promised that I would talk a little bit about the federal job resume requirements. So for those of you that are WRP, you are absolutely, thanks for coming. This is USA Jobs, and I hope you're familiar with it. As a WRP participant, without doing the informational interview, you are going to have access to the database so that you can, it'll all be housed in Handshake so that you can find opportunities. You absolutely can look at jobs on USA Jobs, but the difference is you're going to be applying with the masses. The WRP program, what it allows you as folks that are eligible, you don't have to apply with the masses. You bypass that whole process. You still want to put your best foot forward because you're going to be in front of these employers. You're going to have access to these federal recruiters, and they want you to succeed. So the more you can prepare and practice, the better you are going to be able to successfully land one of these positions. We're here to give you the tools, but you still ultimately need to interview for those roles and apply for those roles. So part of that process will involve a federal resume. Now, you can use all of the same practices in a general resume as you would a like a federal resume. But the thing that I think is really important here, there's some, let me find it. They move things around on me all the time. So in the Help Center, there's a whole section here on make your resume and profile searchable. So this is so you're already going to be searchable if you are if you've already been approved to participate for 2025 WRP. So if you aren't and you're still looking, thanks Kelsey. If you are still looking for a federal job, in addition to being part of the WRP program, I highly recommend this searchable section, and this will just help you get seen. But you're going to be with the masses, right? But I think if you have a consistent profile and you're really putting your best foot forward and you're really, that is your goal, to work for the federal government, I would also recommend that you attend one of our many federal employee workshops where the federal employee, the recruiters come and they talk to our students and our alumni, and they go through the resume process for everyone, not just for the WRP students. But once you get here, there's a lot of resources. So here, how to build a resume. This is all about building your resume within the platform itself. And you're going to have all of these tips on, so see, look, you have the plain text file, that's a Word document, and you're going to have some resume information. Just a second, there's a whole nother section on resumes. So when you're doing a resume on, what should I include? This is it. So this is the good stuff. It's a little different. You know how I told you that traditional resume, generally you only go back 10 years or so unless it's really relevant. Well, here they're going to want you to go back to the beginning, right? They want all of your work experience, and it doesn't matter how long it is. There's tons of information on this page, but if you look at the information, it not only does it talk about no, it won't, Brandon. Not only is it going to talk about what you should include, so it's going to talk about much more than just your your work experience. They're still giving you advice on tailoring your resume. You are going to tie it to the job description, And those of you who already are on USA Jobs, that absolutely won't count against you. It'll actually just, now you're going to be seen with the masses. The competition is going to be a lot greater. Be seen in both places. So making sure that you have, especially folks that are targeting certain positions, a lot of times folks are thinking, I want to put everything under the sun. But when you are a jack of all trades, you're, like I mentioned in your resume, similar to your profile, you are watering down the stuff that is really relevant to the target. And if you don't know what that target is, please, please, we've got lots of resources to help you figure out what that targeted role or roles, you might have one or two that are similar, but that you're targeting, because you in that 7 to 10 seconds when somebody's looking at your resume, you want them to see, like, let's say I want to do project management. Yes, I've held lots of positions in leadership and in working with customers and students, but I really want to nail down what are the components within that role that are really important. Is it my ability to communicate effectively, my ability to complete a project on time, to forecast risk mitigation, all of those things that are relevant to that role, so that I'm not watering down the real meat of the competencies in my profile, but also in my resume. So your USA Jobs profile and your Handshake profile, those are all places that you can talk about why you are interested in those roles. We have lots of workshops on tailoring your social media and your profiles that you can implement into these areas. So knowing, though, where you're wanting to go is going to be a lot more helpful for a recruiter than, oh, this person pretty much can do everything. I'm not really sure if they're going to stick around because they have all these skills in all these different areas. Yes, they meet my qualifications, but Nancy over here, she has she clearly wants to be in this project management role, and has really demonstrated how all of her skills, everything on your resume, really needs to be targeting that job. And if you need help with that, we're here to help too. So please, schedule an appointment with us, or you can send me an email. We have drop-in sessions too. So I know we're really busy right now. November will start a slow time. So you have use November wisely and December before the actual database is open. Meet with our career advisors. We can help you get your resume tuned up. We can help you get your actual your profiles tuned up as well, so that it's very clear what you're targeting. And when people do land on your page, they will know, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Couple questions here in the chat, and if you guys have specific questions on federal resumes, especially the folks that asked, please let me know. But this is an excellent resource that you should be utilizing as you are exploring, or as you're preparing your federal resumes. So Brandon is wondering, remove previous experience beyond 10 years from LinkedIn. Yes, I would recommend that, unless there's always a caveat, unless whatever it is you did, let's say you were a software engineer 15 years ago, you left the field, you did a bunch of things, maybe you did some volunteer work, you started working with nonprofits, and then you really were focused in on web development. Now you want to go back to software engineering, and you haven't held that position in 15 years. You better believe I would include that on your LinkedIn profile. I mean, a lot has changed, of course, in that period, but you have historical knowledge in that role, doing that job very differently. So that would be something I would include on your resume. And Robertson is looking for, I think I have too many skills listed. How many skills are typically needed or should be shown or listed? That's a great question. That I don't have a one size fits all answer for you, to be honest, but you're going to get different advice from different career advisors, because we all have different backgrounds, and it's pretty subjective, to be honest. As a hiring manager, I prefer, instead of a skills section where you're just writing out the skills that you have, I prefer a shorter list that's demonstrating the skills that you have. So what I mean by that is, instead of saying I'm a team player, I can talk about a project that I did in my work experience, and I can describe how I'm effectively able to communicate to all different, levels of expertise, um, to you know pull a project forward or to meet the deadline of that project, or if there's something that I can show that I impacted the organization. That's going to be a lot more powerful than a list of skills. Um, the list of skills can be helpful though, because if there's skills that are listed on the job description, and you have those skills, like hard skills especially, you don't really either know it or you don't. That would be what I would recommend. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if I looked at your resume, I would provide you with that same advice, if that makes sense. Will that beat the ATS system if it's not listed, but you describe it? Yeah, beat the ATS system. So, I mean, if you're using the same language, so like let's say it's Python, and you decide that you're not going to put a dedicated skills list, and you're going to instead describe how you use Python, it's still going to match it, if that makes sense. It's going to count that. It doesn't care where it is or how it's on your resume. It's still going to count it towards your matching score. So whether you list it by itself or whether you list it in a demonstration of that skill, what so it's they're the same, they're equal to the ATS system, but to the employer, instead of you just saying Python, you've then described how you use Python and the impact that that had on the organization. You're that is so much more valuable to the person reading it. So ATS doesn't care. They're just giving you a score based on matching. They're not looking at the value. So I hope that answers your question. And thank you, Octavia. It's really great that you came. I appreciate you. Thanks. If I had two jobs for 10 years, does that look bad on a resume? Over like you had two jobs total, and I guess I need a little more information on that, honestly. So if it's you spent 5 years at one job, 5 years at another job, I don't think that looks bad at all. But if you had a job, and then 4 years later you had another job, same two jobs, worked over 10 years. I think that is uncommon, and honestly, that is loyalty. It shows that you had longevity with an employer, and the fact that you're balancing two jobs at the same time, one at night, one during the day. I mean, do you sleep, Robertson? No, I don't think that would at all hinder you in any way. It shows that you're dedicated, that you have drive, and that you're able to balance competing priorities effectively. Holding two jobs at the same time is commendable, and I would absolutely think that would increase your chances of getting an interview. Uh, I think everybody's story is unique. So one thing I didn't actually talk about in this presentation, so hopefully the folks that left a little early will let us will watch the end of the recording. We do have a process to get feedback. So and you all are probably dying to have somebody look at your resume. So please take advantage of that opportunity. It's a service that we provide both students and alumni. What you'll do for that process is you're going to go here to the Get the Job, and we do ask that you do our resume course. You guys will be experts. You can whiz right through it because you sat through over an hour of resume workshop with yours truly. But what you'll do is you're going to, and I'll pop this here in the chat. So this is the link to the resume resources. You're going to do the resume course, and so you're going to go here. You can look at all of our cool support that we've got. You're going to click on this blue button that is go to your resume, the resume course, and then you're going to go to when it pulls up, you're going to go through, there are modules here. So there are 4 units, and at the very, very end, this is important, you're going to get to this next steps. Okay, congratulations, you've completed the course. Now, if you'd like additional resume support, you're going to go here. This will open up a new page, and here there's some good stuff here. Talks about our resume events, like this event, talks about advisor callbacks if you have a quick question. But to request a review, you're going to download the resume self-review. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. And you're going to complete it, and you're going to attach a Word version of your resume. Now, hopefully, when you download the self-review, this is what it looks like. It is essentially a checklist to make sure that you're applying what you learned in the course to your actual resume. So you'll just check these boxes like, oh, yep, you're going to download it, and then you'll check off the boxes. Yes, I used the right font. Yes, I used a professional, email. You should just be checking all these down that you've done them. There's a place for you to put the job description, and then there's specific information. So like if you want help revising your professional summary, or you want help quantifying your skills, you could put that in here. And then what you'll do is you're going to send us the completed self-review, and then also your updated resume, and then email it to us at careers@WGU. And then what we'll do is we'll put you in a queue. We're going to send you a confirmation email telling you that we're going to get to your resume. We have your resume, and we're going to get to it in however long. I think it says 3 to 4 business days, but it takes about 1 to 2 business days. So take advantage of that. It's quick. You'll get some one-on-one help with an advisor, and give you some feedback to help you stand out. Now, we also do appointments. Let me go back to this. This is how you request an appointment. You can, schedule an appointment with myself or one of our advisors by visiting this link, and we can, meet with you and talk to you about your resume. We can talk to you really about anything that's career related. So yeah, come and take advantage of the wonderful support that we have, and see here. We are happy to help. So Melissa, forgive me for not understanding. How do you include our entire work history in a federal resume and at the same time only speak to the job you're applying for? No, that's okay. That's okay, Melissa. That is what you'll do is let me show you. So what you almost want to look at the job description as a guide. So I'm trying to think here. Let me find a resume. I think I just need to find a template. Let's see this accounting resume. This is an accounting person, so all of their experience is accounting. Okay, so let's say this is my resume, and I have all my positions on here. Note that this person is just listing their accounting experience and then their additional experience. So no problem, Octavia. Have a good night. Good to see you. So the in federal resumes are different. So let me back up. So everything that needs to be relevant on your resume as it pertains to the job, that's not federal resume. So you are absolutely right in hanging on that entire work history. So general resumes for everything but federal, you do generally 10 years of work history, and there are always exceptions, but that's generally what you would include. Federal resumes want to know when you worked at McDonald's and going forward. So if you were on the payroll, so I'm not talking about babysitting under the table when you're 12, but any job where you got a W-2 and you were paid and paid taxes or didn't pay taxes. So you do want to, and yes, like if you were the Easter Bunny, at age 16. You would include that on a federal resume. Now, the accomplishment points. Great to see you, Raquel. Thank you. Um, the the accomplishment statements, that's where you're going to tailor those bullet points to the job that you're trying to be. So as the Easter Bunny, I'm sure you have stories about resilience, customer service, um, time management. So the things that you are going to highlight should be relevant, and you want to highlight transferable skills. I have a short video that some of my colleagues actually just created. It's like 5 minutes long, maybe it's 10 minutes, but I'm going to send that out because I think it's great to think through how you can highlight those transferable skills. So many people, they run into hiccups when they're applying for jobs. Like I remember reading a comment about feeling like they're not honest when they don't meet every qualification on the job qualification list. But when you think about, you almost are undervaluing yourself. I didn't do that exactly, but I did this. I used problem solving skills here. I used my critical thinking skills. I used my communication skills. That is those are the kinds of skills that you want to be highlighting, not taking pictures with kids, right? Or handing out lollipops or whatever it is that you did as the Easter Bunny. The resilience, the ability to, be in a hot suit all day long for long lengths of time, that kind of thing would be what you would want to highlight. Okay, hold on one second. I'm running out of water. So for work history, it's okay to have a lot of different careers. That part isn't going to be the thing that hinders you. As a career changer myself, I've worn many hats in many of my careers. But if you have a focal point, Melissa, like if your focal point is I don't know, human resources, and that's what you're really targeting, the thing that you need to do in your work experience is you need to be consistent in not being redundant, but focusing on the job description to write your accomplishment points, if that makes sense. So even if you've switched careers a lot, you're going to have to speak to that in an interview, but it shows your versatility. But an employer doesn't want to view you as a job hopper. They want to see how those experiences have made you who you are, have contributed to your skills and your experiences as a whole, and can really add value to their organization. So I hope that helps a little bit, but I would maybe on your resume, since you've had a lot of different roles, grouping them together might be helpful. But for a federal resume, you are expected to include everything on the resume. But I don't think that maybe on I would say maybe on USA Jobs, that might be something that you get lost in. But if you're taking advantage of the workforce recruitment program, I don't think that you are going to have that's going to be a barrier because you're in front of the recruiters already. I hope that answers your question, Melissa. I am out of water, you guys. I really appreciate you sticking with me and hanging out. But yeah, follow up with a with an appointment with me, Melissa, because I can talk to you a little bit about your unique situation. But I got nothing left. Thank you all for being so great and engaging with me. I look forward to continuing. and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.